This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Denver, Colorado. We're at AGN Treasury Management. Since 2011, they have served many multinational clients right here from Denver, Colorado. I'm here with the president. Andrea, let me ask you first of all, this really isn't an occupation that you wake up one day and decide you're going to go launch and do next year. You really come to the plate with over 20 years of experience before you even opened up your doors. What got you involved in this industry?
Sure, love to tell you about that. My natural knack is mathematics and numbers, and I love doing that. And in college, I studied finance and banking, and sort of fell into my career. Actually, started off getting a great opportunity with my first company, working with the CFO, and from there, just blossomed and had many opportunities, and fell into my niche area of treasury management.
Wonderful. Let me ask you this. With technology, is that how you're able to be Denver-based and yet really be able to take care of clients worldwide?
Correct. With today's technology and our computer systems and phone calls, I can be 24/7 available.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, banks have whole departments that are devoted to treasury management. Are you able to help with banks as well as private companies, or both?
That's a great question. So yes, my personal experience has been on the corporate client side, but I have banking partners that I work with on a regular basis, and I could go back and forth in between banks and the corporate clients very easily, because you end up knowing both sides of the business, really.
A company usually, the treasury operations usually fall on the VP, possibly director of finance. Why would it be important for somebody to want to outsource something like this in whole or in part? What are the benefits?
Great question again. A lot of times the treasury departments at corporations aren't really understood. People think of just an accounting area or a finance area, but this is a very specialized niche area. And you actually interact with many different parts of the organization. It's sort of a central point of where the cash lays, and cash is king at most companies. So most of the time, treasury departments have very small staff, and they're understaffed. And so if somebody just needed help on a project, or they needed an evaluation of services, or to get things started, I would be the perfect person to come in and help with that, because you wouldn't need to necessarily hire me as a full-time person, but I could help you get where you need to go.
So you're really there to help them evaluate, support, basically come on as a team member, if you will, and obviously bring an insight that possibly they don't get from inside.
That's correct. And a lot of times I've been able to help companies who aren't even actually in my area. In fact, I had one client last year who was in a completely different industry, and they had been approached to try and use their product for another, product that from a banking side, and so we helped them get on track, and they're up and running.
Wonderful. Speaking of clients, in over 20 years you've been serving folks out there. Share with us just a few of them that you've been able to help.
Sure. So my experience is really in the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley. I've worked for companies like Symantec, CH2M Hill out here, Teletech, Syntex. So lots of different industries, which is a nice part about my business, that it's not industry specific. I'm able to go across industries. I'm able to go small business, large corporates, multinational. So that's a great thing. Once you have the foundation, then I'm able to help in many different areas.
Wonderful. Obviously based here in Denver, your services go beyond our borders here. Tell me about international treasury operations, what your expertise is there.
Sure. My big expertise is in domestic and international cash management. So basically helping to make sure that your banking is in place, your cash is in place, your ins and outs on a daily basis, looking at strategy, foreign exchange management, setting up technology, which is a great thing right now. There's a lot of tools for our banks. So
Wonderful.
I'm actually also part of a network of small business independent people in North America, represented in Canada and the U.S. So a group of independent consultants, and it's a great area to be in.
Wonderful. Is foreign exchange management, how does that differ compared to domestic?
Yeah, domestic, if you were to look at a domestic company, you'd really just be looking at your operations within the U.S. borders, perhaps North America, where cash is just flowing in and out. You may have some international payments that need to go out, but basically your banking is based international, or I'm sorry, based in the U.S. From an international foreign exchange management point of view, you actually need to buy and sell currency because you've got operations in other countries typically. So you've got to be able to buy currency and operate with cash that may not be your functional currency here in the U.S.
Wonderful. You had touched on earlier, it's kind of an exciting time because of technology. Obviously, with 20 years into it, you've probably seen some real changes there. Are you able to implement a lot of those changes and help folks basically integrate and basically put some complex things together, automation, if you will?
That's correct. A lot of times people think of it as a shared service center where you're centralizing sort of your functions. And so that's part of what we do and work with our banks and what's called an ERP system at a corporation. It could be small or large. And being able to automate all of your payments that need to go out. So you actually have a lot less risk. There's not as much paper and checks floating around. And so it's a much more automated process. And usually you can save resources in the end.
And that was a shared service center, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Obviously, this type of service seems to help almost anyone. What size of company are we talking about that would be a good candidate for your services?
Well, thanks for asking, Gary. I've had most of my experience in large multinational corporations, but with the expertise I have, you build a foundation, and so that allows me to help any type of company, whether that's a nonprofit company, just a small local business, or something that's just based here in the U.S., just with domestic borders. Would love to be able to help some more people here in the Denver area as well.
Wonderful. Also, can you share with us possibly some of the current projects you're working on right now, or basically companies you're dealing with?
Unfortunately, that's proprietary information right now with my clients, but I do do some work with the University of Denver right now, as well as some companies who are based in the U.S. and, as I said, working with some people up in Canada as well.
Wonderful. Folks, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is her website information right there. Basically, you're looking at agntreasury.com, and you're going to find there a little bit more about the company, also some of the services that she provides. Most importantly, you're able to connect right there and reach out if you think this is something you'd like to bring on. Like she said, not only in whole or in part, but possibly a special project that you've got coming up. She definitely brings a lot of experience to the table. Somebody out there who's thinking about getting involved, how do they get started?
On a consulting basis? I think you have to take the risk. First of all, it's good to have the experience, and that's partly why I did it. I had a lot of people calling and asking me questions and for advice, and after 20 years wanted to try and do something different, and so decided to give this consulting a whirl.
Wonderful. And obviously, there's companies out there that are going to benefit from those years of experience. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.